painting. If a personality a dead thing, it's a dead thing. No. Painting can do a smart thing. If she loved Jesus, then she put away her dead sin. Painting a straight shooter, painting straighter than an arrow or a ruler. And make sure painting always keep it 100. Painting low, yeah, you can give her 100. She not defined by the world, nah. She gave Jesus Christ all control, yeah. Rainbow, Shinda, gold, yeah. Now watch her taking over. She not defined by the world, nah. She gave Jesus Christ all control, yeah. Rainbow, Shinda, gold, yeah. Now watch her taking over. She a painting, na na na. 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 Painting not defined by her outer, but she working to bring her inner to her outer. Painting know her worth is in the king, and she is a new creature. Yeah, she know what that means. Confident, she's confident that her other king. Painting is confident. Painting got tunnel vision, fight a mission. Keep her eyes on the prize. She got the winner vision. She winning. She not defined by the world, nah. She gave Jesus Christ all control, yeah. Rainbow, Shinda, gold, yeah. Now watch her taking over. She not defined by the world, nah. She gave Jesus Christ all control, yeah. Rainbow, Shinda, gold, yeah. Now watch her taking over. She a painting, na na na. 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 She not defined by the world, nah. She gave Jesus Christ all control, yeah. Rainbow, Shinda, gold, yeah. Now watch her taking over. She not defined by the world, nah. She gave Jesus Christ all control, yeah. Rainbow, Shinda, gold, yeah. Now watch her taking over.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Pawaradio.
Luku safi baby jo unatisha bebara. Twende usijali form ni instant. Na lugha yako leo utaitika. Leta sana lete kiburi takumaliza. Na beshte yako alinita madam. Twende sana twende si ati tutashindwa. Lakini tabia yako nini bana I say hello. Chunga utaniebisha. Kabla twende sana kaa ukijua nataka Westmola kwa Cynthia. Alafu baadaye utadishi na chumvi juu kachumbari imeisha. Na sasa unanishikilia kama fuli. Na club inafaa kutuacha tuwezi si wawili. Tufike sehemu kilele hadi asubuhi. Nguvu yangu yote niatire ujuaji na fungu la 9. Umefurahi sana shukuru Kenya Power juu hao ndo wameleta giza. After today won't be the same. And it's so hard, you fit my description. I have a lot to say, not feeling sharp in the picture. After today won't be the same. And it's so hard, you fit my
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Pawaradio.
Good morning, good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, boys and girls. My name is Caroline Murote, and a good welcome to you. Good morning. A happy new week. Welcome to Sheversations. And in case it is your first time here, karibu na karibu sana. Hey, my tongue. Nimekunywa uji moto. Wee! Gosh, me see Gen Z, so siogopi uji moto, and clearly that's where the problem is. But if it's your first time here, I am here having conversations, popping and impactful conversations with you that amplify the female voice, because Sasa, what else are we to do with our lives when the drama is always dramaing? It's a lot, guys. Honestly, himaneno ya mama is a lot. Like, there's just so much that we need to be discussing when it comes to ladies. So much that needs to be addressed, particularly in our country, but also you'd find that these issues are prevalent all over the world. So anyways, a good morning to you. How are you doing? How are you feeling? How's the weather where you are? Tell me about the traffic. If you want to holla at me, you just like me, you just think that I'm a dope person, then you can do that on Instagram at Caroline_Murote, and Facebook it's Caroline Murote, same on Twitter X, and on TikTok it's at Carol Murote, CAROL Murote, that's MUROTE to you. And you can also holla at us on our socials on Pawaradio, because here we power up. So Pawaradio across all the socials. Make sure you are tuned in. Welcome to the show, and we have just enjoyed the good vibes of Polaris, Pauline, and Shani. We had Sataki by Polaris, Pauline. We had Pentang by Shani. We had Unadu by Polaris, Pauline. Polaris, Pauline is saying a lot, and she has opinions. Yes, and we stand. Honestly, we like girlies who know what they're doing. We like girlies who know what they're saying, who stand, they with their full chest. They say what they need to say. And that's what Sheversations is about. Just getting the stuff that needs to be said so that stuff that needs to be done can be done already. And remember, in 2025, we are just moving onwards and upwards and progressively. So if you're not about that vibe, take a chill pill, calm down, and get the heck out of our way. Thank you very, very, very much. So now I'm gonna throw you my fave Polaris jam is Energy, featuring MDQ and Mayonde, and this is for you. Enjoy. We're gonna be back, and I'm gonna let you know what we're gonna be talking about today. Mwah.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Pawaradio.
Maisha ina stress but sitachoka, manake mimi staya mimi nyota, Mungu peke ndio mimi nitaogopa. Get back 'cause unachoma daily na meremeta, form yangu ni kutesa, usikol kama si pesa, bade nachipeleka, inaselela dombola, mandem and lose composure. We catch flies, now feelings, leo tuna dance for ceiling. Don't waste my time, don't miss my energy, don't kill my vibe, don't miss my energy. Let's say goodbye, just fly around me. Let's spend some time, just spend some time with me. Feeling important, feeling like something is coming all over me. Feel like a soldier, feel like I'm going to war with the enemy. I've gotten older, I'm very comfortable with my identity. It's never over, I'm ready, I'm willing, I'm willing. I'm feeling hypnotized, I'm feeling like a child. I need to realize I'm feeling so alive. I take off my disguise and I get myself the prize. I don't mean to be shy, all I can do is try. Don't waste my time, don't miss my energy, don't kill my vibe, don't miss my energy. Let's say goodbye, just fly around with me. will define the lie. Some people think that everything they think is right. Some people don't believe in peace, they want to fight. Some people not my type, some people not the vibe. Shangilia, pango yote imepangiliwa, shida yetu yote tatuliwa, maisha yetu imebarikiwa. Shangilia, pango yote imepangiliwa, shida yetu yote tatuliwa, maisha yetu imebarikiwa. At the corner, me and Susie know we ain't got no worries, we are looking like the owners, sipping on Coronas, looking at the phone. All them pretty boys come and tell us how they want us. Mambo ni kungoja, aki utangoja, sinaga my time, taku waiting na be order. Planning how we want, take over the walks, riding on the drums and the clap and the bass goes boom. Shake it down like we tell you, simmer. At the corner, me and Susie know we ain't got no money, but we do it how we wanna. Minting our nails, checking our mails. All them pretty boys wanna have us, but they feel Kim Tangoya, Leon Tangoya, Sai to coax, Kunaka Zavioya. Running how we want to, take over the walls, riding on the drum and the clap while the bass goes boom. Shake it down like we tell you, simmer.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Pawaradio.
Already, so that was Susie and Noma, and that was the beautiful, the dynamic Modoni, the drama queen. Right before that, we had Polaris Pauline featuring MDQ and Mayonde with Energy. So we are on a roll with this beautiful, powerful women. If you're just joining us, welcome back to Sheversations. Well, welcome, yeah, and welcome back to everybody else that has been hanging out. It is 22 minutes past 11, which means that we have about 38 minutes of a good conversation. Well, 1 hour and 38 minutes of a good conversation about systemic inequalities in gender when it comes to gender relations. So we are going to be diving properly into it. Leo staki kusikia maudaku zenu. I don't want to know who's cheating on who. I don't want to know whose baby daddy did what. I don't want to know ni akina nani wameachana, which politician has stolen money. I'm very focused today. I'm very focused. I'm all about the girlies today. I'm all about the vibes. I mean, I'm about the girlies every single time. But today in particular, I'm going to be on a roll. Do you understand? So we are handling issues. We're taking care of business right about now. And you better buckle up because it's about to be a good ride. So now the chaotic reality of gender inequalities. Oh my goodness. Yeah, we need to flip those things. That stuff, we need to make it make sense because if we just wait for the system to change, guys, we're going to be waiting longer than some of us have been waiting for Jesus to come back. Do you understand? You might as well start applying for retirement benefits, which you might never get if that's a conversation that we think is going to end right now. Do you understand? The system is not going to change itself right now. We actually have to be combative intentionally. And when I say combative, I don't mean cute. I don't mean assertive. I mean combative. I mean fight, guys. Like throw some punches, okay? Quote me. Na kesho mkinisikia niki inshallah vibes and peace. Don't refer to me today, okay? So I reserve the right to change my mind every single day, and that's valid, all right? Okay. So why do we need to talk about gender inequality, guys? Why? Because in order for you to listen to me, apparently, other than me being a woman, other than me having ovaries, other than me existing in this society that doesn't always celebrate women, when men talk about what they talk about, they don't need any qualifications. In fact, just because you're a man, it's okay. Your opinion is valid. Yes, but for a lot of women, in order for them to be heard, we need to understand, sasa huyu ni mama nani? Like, which PhD do you have? Which department do you work for? Who's your father? Do you understand? So first of all, the inequality, the double standards when it comes to who do we actually listen to when it comes to women issues. We would rather listen to the mansplainers, and it's not on. Yeah. So we need to talk about it because we don't need leadership experience to be valid. We don't need PhDs to be valid. We don't need... Do you understand? Another thing is that, like, if I'm not smiling, because guys, I smile, but not all the time. And then people are like, Caroline, fix your face. I'm like, well, you fix it, okay? You fix my face. Tell me what my face is supposed to look like just because it's not pleasant enough for you. Just because I'm not smiling. Do you know how exhausting it is to smile all the time? Smiling on demand? No, guys. Yes, we want to have joy. We want to be happy. We want to be cheerful, pleasant, approachable people, but also not as a career and not as a standard to be approached when it comes to things that are fully within our scope of experience and expertise. Do you understand? That's the thing that really, really, really ticks me off because I need to be nice in order for my results at whatever professional level to be acknowledged. That is caca, it's rubbish, it's poo-poo, and we need to put it in the drainage system exactly where it belongs. Yes, because if you're being expected to smile all the time in order for your work efforts to be acknowledged, then you might as well take all of your experience and everything that you have to offer somewhere where it is appreciated and not being based off of how willing are you to smile at people. And I'm not saying that we should be gloomy, whatever people, but you get the point. Like, just because my personality does not fit your sunshine radar or your sunshine meter does not mean that I am invalidated for conversations where my results, my experience, and my accolades speak for themselves. Do you understand? Yeah, and so a lot of women actually don't apply for jobs, but we actually don't hire women as often as we should. So it's a double standard to say that women need to be more confident to apply for certain jobs. Yes, true. We've talked about that on the show. We've talked about imposter syndrome. We've talked about women needing to brand themselves for corporate and needing to take space in leadership spaces. We've talked about all those things. And so we understand that there is a problem where women see themselves as less. But also for the interviewing and hiring panels that then will interview one woman out of 17, and you're hiring 5 people, why then would you not consider this lady as one of your hires if she's just as qualified as the men? So there is a problem. There is a problem. And one of the reasons why women actually might not have confidence when it comes to easy vituza being hired and being rehired and not being hired and not applying for jobs is because they've realized what it looks like uko nje. Yeah? Do you understand? And another thing is that, like, because I'm not smiling all the time, or because I am, very straightforward, I know what I want, and I'm not trying to, coddle you or like bootlick you. And then now you tell me that I am aggressive. Whereas if a man is like that, he is a perfect boss, perfect supervisor, perfect colleague. This is why we need to be having this conversation. So just in case you've not understood, and yay, everything I've said has just gone, zoomed past you, just gone over you. Yes. Are you them? Are you those people? If that's you, then I'm gonna be having a guest in studio shortly who's going to help us understand what systemic inequalities are in gender and why. Why should we be having these conversations and what's the way forward? Yes, but right now we're about to jump into Wema Wako by Shani, and I'm gonna see you guys in a short while.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Pawaradio.
Laura, you already know.
Tabasamu usoni, furaha moyoni, ninaye rafiki wa kweli, mfalme wa amani. All the sorrows and the worries, nikiwa naye nyepesi. That's why I dance and sing, yeah.
No matter where I go, I'm surrounded. And if I ever fall, I'll never take the fall, cause your blood paid the cost, I'm not bounded. You gave me a brand new chance. Now I'm living like it's heaven on earth since I met you. Don't have to die, go to heaven just to get you. I have that here, I hold you dear. You whisper and I know that I'll make it, that's clear. Every day, talk about grace, say you give it when I pray. Talk about goodness, talk about love, talk about all the blessings that you get from above.
Good side, the bright side.
Come as you are, yeah, your life will never be the same.
Good side, the bright side.
Pero hoy ako yote watching credit all the way.
Steady moving, I'm cruising, steady moving, I'm cruising, steady moving. Wema wako na baraka zinifuate maishani mwangu. Wema wako na baraka zinifuate maishani mwangu.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Pawaradio.
Run.
Warembo ni wengi ila nawalenga, ndio maana usiku siku hizi nalala mapema. Hawataniteka, heri tu ninyonge na nilale tu sitakucheza. Nami nimekiri yetu sio siri, ni wewe tu na mimi. Niamini, loving you is easy. Wacha wakupinga watupinge. Umenibeba, umenibeba, asante kwa kunipenda hivyo unavyonipenda. Umenibeba, umenibeba, asante kwa kunipenda hivyo unavyonipenda.
Warembo ni wengi ila unalenga kupenda kutenda, sio tu kusema nashangaa, si kawaida. Won't be quick to give my love if you won't either. Viva, umedeliver. Safari ya mapenzi haina kufika. Kiri nimekiri, loving you is easy. Wacha wakupinga watupinge.
Umenibeba, umenibeba, asante kwa kunipenda hivi unavyonipenda. Umenibeba, umenibeba, asante kwa kunipenda hivi unavyonipenda. Beibaro, kakanyere nelawa, ton nahero gamon, bad boy those days are gone. Since I found you, kila kitu new, give me away ujode, me I only see you, nimeweka pazia machoni, I only see you, umeniweka juu, umenibeba, asante kwa kunipenda hivi unavyonipenda. Umenibeba, umenibeba, asante kwa kunipenda hivi unavyonipenda.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Pawaradio.
Welcome back to Sheversations. In case you have the memory of a goldfish and you have forgotten where this is, my name is Caroline Murote, and this is where we amplify female voices. We have 24 minutes to the top of the hour, and as you can see, I'm not alone here. I have somebody with me who's going to tell us a bunch of things, like a whole lot of things. And I would like her to confirm if she's here to say stuff.
I'm always anywhere to say a lot of things.
She has opinions, guys, and I would like for her to introduce herself. You want to give us government names. You want to walk down memory lane with the history of your names, or maybe you have a DJ name, a secret, a name that an exclusive set of people know, and then you can let us into that. Just like, do you?
Do me?
Yeah.
Okay. That's really cool. Yeah, my name does have a really cool history.
Mm-hmm.
So professionally, I'm Raji Uma.
Okay.
But I think I was just mentioning it to you before I went to the US. My official name is actually Uma Raji Langovan. When I went to the US, my documents got flipped up, and so it became Raji Uma, and it's a little easier. Raji is my mother's first name.
Okay.
But I think the cool thing is my name is also quite feminist in its very origins.
Right.
I'm really excited to explain why.
Okay.
So Uma Raji Langovan, in our cultures, historically, especially in the southern part of India, the whole caste system. And so historically, your names would be your first name, that's your given name, and then your dad's first name would be your middle name, and then your caste name would be your last name.
Okay.
And that would be your 3-name structure. And then when you get married, you would take your husband's first name, and then you would have the caste.
You guys took this class system seriously.
And then, about like a few decades ago, like around my parents' generation, many of the people who were more progressive dropped the caste name. And you'll see a lot of people in, like, especially the southern part of India, they use the first name of the father as the last name. And then when you get married, you take your husband's first name as your last name. And that's just the system, right?
Okay.
But my dad, 34 years ago, when my brother was born, was like, equal rights. I'm going to make sure that, you know, the mother's name is a part of that name as well.
Power to the girlies.
So Ilangovan is my father's first name.
Yes.
Raji is my mother's first name. So he was like, when my brother was born, it was Vignesh, Raji, Ilango, and Kadu, which is our ancestral deity. And then Uma, which is also our ancestral deity's name, which is what I got.
Wow.
It became Uma Raji Ilangovan.
Wow.
So yeah, I guess I'm a feminist because my dad's a feminist.
I love that. And something that I've caught is that if you talk to West Africans, particularly Nigerians and Ghanaians, they have the same kind of, like, you're like, you can't just explain to me your name in one sentence. You can't just tell me my name is, for example, Murote means dreamer. So it's a Kikuyu or Meru name.
Yeah.
They share some similar words. So it means the manifestation of a dream. So that's my dad's name. So how Kikuyu people name their children is very patriarchal. So that's a different story. But it's basically the firstborn daughter will be named after the father's mother. I am Gathoni, which was my grandmother's name on my dad's side. The firstborn son then would be named after the father's father. So if I had a brother, which I do not, he would be called Kanyeve, which is my dad's dad. Yeah, but then you see that's simple enough to understand, or rather it's very direct and straightforward. So if you ask me, it's like, oh, the manifestation of a dream, and like a lot of our Kikuyu names, we don't know what they mean. Natusi danganyane, we have no idea. But like something I love about your explanation is that it's very, have you ever been nostalgic for something you've never experienced?
Yeah.
It feels like something that should be a part of you, but you can't exactly say that you've experienced it or that that's part of your story.
Yeah.
That's how I feel when I find people of color just giving the stories of their names and how they were named. And I'm like, it doesn't have to make sense to me at all, because that's their story. And it's like, if that's not my culture, it's okay. I don't need to validate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I love about that. But like, other than having a beautiful naming history and a feminist father who clearly got it right when it comes to empowering you, what are you about? Just your professional title, even before you get into like what you do and the whys of it.
Yeah. So I currently work at Africa Digital Media Institute as the head of student programs.
Okay.
So what I feel like many people don't understand what that is sometimes, especially if you're not in like an academic setting or in the creative space.
Yeah, you can elaborate on that.
So what I do is I work on the more administrative side of the school, and I handle anything to do with the student experience. Okay. So outside of the classroom where they're getting their technical training, I have my finger in that pie. So I supervise the placements desk, right? So we get partnerships, we make sure that our students are having industry exposure and all of those types of things. Okay. I also had a conversation with your people to see if we can get my students in here for internships for our sound engineers and music producers, because we have some great ones. But I also supervise our mental health counselor. Okay. And like, so the more like inclusion side of things and conversations around like mental health and like the psychosocial support of our students to make sure that we're having a more holistic teaching experience and like learning experience for our students. But I also am with the student program side of student engagement. So I supervise the student council, our work study students. What does like student programs look like? How many student clubs do we have? What type of student clubs do we have? So yeah, just making sure that I'm enhancing the student experience. And that could look like really just pushing our students out of their comfort zones or making sure they still feel safe. So all of those types of things,
Okay, awesome. So it sounds like you're the staff member that students might like to come to.
It is my job for them to like me, to come to me, yes.
I feel like not everybody does a great job at being approachable, especially in academic spaces. I have a very simple degree that I've never gone to. Claim is rough. collect because it's mine, right?
Yeah,
it's
it is yours.
It's
You've
mine. I
claimed it.
graduated.
Yeah.
I've never. It's still at the institution where I studied, but that's besides the point. In my very many years of experience of school, which was just the degree, but like more years than a degree should take, I feel like not many faculty or like teaching staff or like academic staff are approachable, and they're not aware that they're not approachable. So that's like crazy to me that a lot of people out here care about our education but are not in touch with what's actually going on with young people.
That's a really, really important point. And I think I'm glad you really brought it forward, because I think there's a lot of disconnect, especially like these days with the Gen Zs, because that's how even the way we address the youth and the young adults these days is like, there's a label, right? There's an other them. Yeah. And there's this disconnect because I think some faculty or some teaching staff come from, the 844 system or this like old traditional system. Yeah. And for me, one of the reasons I absolutely love working at ADMI is because one, we're working specifically with creatives. Okay. Right? Where all of our students are creatives, digital creatives, right? We are talking about film and TV production. We're talking about music production and sound engineering, animators, photographers.
People that want to make stuff.
People who want to create and make things. And that population is almost often counterculture people. Yeah. That is where you're going to get your core of counterculture folks. And when you're working with this type of population, and you come in maybe with like an idea of like, well, you need to be doing A, B, and C. And then you listen to what I say. And then like you have to do it this way. Yeah. It's not going to work.
It's not.
It's not.
They'll just do the bare minimum just to get what they need from you.
Yeah, and maybe they won't
hate it.
Maybe they won't even do the bare minimum.
And
right?
Like
you don't want to discourage them, especially like a lot of students coming into this industry are fighting a lot, right? Yeah. They're like, people outside of this industry don't know why anyone would want to come into this industry, right? We're talking about parents and family that are like, this is not something that you're going to get money out.
I was told that I was delusional for wanting to be a journalist. I was told that I'm trying to go to Somalia to die because that was whoever said that was their scope, and they said you're wasting your education, you're wasting your brains, and you're very disillusioned. And I'm like, I've been to Lulu for a while now, and I'm loving it.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's kind of why when you have a population that's already like that, one, we do a lot of work where like we're trying to like make sure parents understand that this is a very viable like career option.
Yeah, and
right?
it's also important.
It's an important career option. You cannot have a society that doesn't have creatives. There is no way for society to move without creatives. And especially like people who question things, right? So something that we do often at ADMI is we do a lot of programming around that for our students as well, but also for our staff, right? Really bringing them into understanding like, how do you interact with a population that's fully growing, right? And they're changing. It's not the same population you interacted with earlier. And you may have been trained to be a teacher, but then you were trained at a different time, right? You were trained for a different population. So when you come in here and you're like working with students who are willing to question everything, do we say they're rude and disrespectful, or do we encourage them?
I've been rude for a very long time.
Exactly.
I've been very discouraged also, but it didn't stop me.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I'm a little bit of an exception. It's very sad. And most the thing people are silenced.
Yeah, because if you don't give them the space, one, to like speak up and advocate and like be their true selves. And also hold space for those who aren't necessarily extroverted, but are introverted. And you want to create space for all of these diverse groups of people who are in the space,
dynamic spaces,
right? And so at ADMI, like some of the things that I do is like I work with the counselor and like my supervisor, Caroline Sela, she's a head of school. She's amazing. She works very closely with me. And we do a lot of programming on this where we want to empower our students to like know how to like know their power and come into their power. Right. But also like with our teachers, we like when we started, you start your term and you have your training sessions. We had a wonderful session that I worked very closely with our counselor on to talk about like putting empathy at the center of teaching. Right. Put it at the center of it and like, you then can see how to interact with them.
Right.
And like understand power dynamics. I feel like power dynamics is at the core of everything, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have an understanding of power dynamics between like you as a teacher in that class and the student, and then like also within teachers, different teachers. So if you have like a male presenting instructor and then you have a female presenting instructor, what powers are at play in a classroom? And then if you have these understandings, then you can create a very like beautiful space in the learning environment where it's more of like a mentorship and guidance and like really teaching students that like they're allowed to learn at their pace and like be curious, learn things, and they can question things that the teachers are doing.
Right.
And then you're both learning because that's the best way to learn. You can't come in and be like, I'm telling you whatever I say is right and that's it.
It's a symbiotic relationship where like it's a give and take, but in the best way possible.
Exactly.
Yeah. So just because you're the instructor does not mean that there's nothing that you're gonna learn.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think looking back in my experience and maybe people that have shared their experiences with me in conversations, the best educators are those that actually came down to our level, the ones that allowed themselves to be silly, to be vulnerable, to share their stories, to also fail. I mean, well, there's a certain amount and level of failing that shouldn't be allowed in an academic setting.
I agree.
Because the point is to pass and to get skills.
Yes.
But just seeing somebody say, hey guys, I haven't yet graded your assignments because I have had a terrible week in XYZ, and is it okay if I get them to you next week? As opposed to, I don't have yours. Like, just also showing me that you're vulnerable. And that also just not not becoming a pattern. Because there's people that take advantage of you're the cool, approachable type. And then you're somewhat just not very effective. So there's that
line.
Yeah, but we're here to celebrate. We're here to celebrate. So Sheversations celebrates women doing awesome things. Hence why you're here. Yes. So in case you didn't know that you were awesome, being here validates you. Please receive all the validation that was not needed anyways. But now that you're welcome. But now that we've said all these things about school and education and the kind of educators that would like to see and why it matters, I want to know something very, 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 very important. Yeah. If you were stuck on a deserted island and you had to take only 3 items with you that you own currently, and you were not going to get help for at least 6 months or so, like food maybe is there. Let's just say your basic needs are taken. Like you have clothes, food, clothing, and shelter, nothing else. So you have healthy, clean drinking water, you have somewhere to use the loo, everything. Like your body is taken care of. But now extra objects, you had to take 3 things with you. What would you take?
So it's an island where there's an ocean nearby?
Yes, but very salty water, as all oceans have.
Yeah, love that. Okay. A part of me feels like I actually don't need anything other than the like food and like water and all that.
Don't be deep. Don't be deep.
Because I'm just like, no, because for me, if I was stuck in that island, you would find me in the ocean all the time.
Really?
Yeah. Like I would be in that ocean like
6
as
months.
much as possible. Yeah.
No work, no community, no people, nothing.
Community would be nice. Community is big. Yeah. If I could take my best friends, can I take my best friends?
3 items. So if
so
you
items,
want them
can
to
it be
be
people?
If you want them to be
3
humans.
People? 3 humans?
Is that what you're choosing?
Yes.
Okay, that's category 1. So let's get deeper into this question. So now, no humans. It's too easy. I'm not going to make it too easy. No humans with 3 objects. You have to take something. It's mandatory.
I guess a couple books, to keep me like when I'm not in the ocean.
Okay.
Maybe some sunscreen.
So sunscreen and 2 books.
Books and can I take a radio to listen to music?
Those are 3 items.
Okay, radio. Fine.
So a radio,
book, and
a book,
sunscreen.
And sunscreen.
Yeah.
Okay. She actually is deep, guys. She's not pretending. I'm very disappointed. I was waiting for you to say something materialistic like the rest of us.
I mean, what else would you... Because here's the thing, right? Let me be very like honest why this is like a question that I don't know how to answer.
Okay.
Because when I left the US, after I left the US, I went to the Maldives. My brother was working in the Maldives at the time. And my sister-in-law was there.
Okay.
I disconnected from the like everything, and I was in the Maldives for 3 months.
Off the grid.
I got my diving certificate.
Oh wow!
And it's
she
one
dives.
of like and for me one of the most like beautiful things for me, like if I feel like I'm losing a part of myself, the two things that I like to do is really just like get back into water bodies, like be in the ocean, be there, or dance. Like those two things are like crucial to my
just high five, because honestly you're speaking my language.
So like,
I
what
have
else would I
no
need?
diving certification, but everything else,
Let's go
same.
diving together. I'll take you.
I mean, guys, but yes, everything I was gonna say after that was gonna be an excuse.
Yeah. Yeah. What's stopping you?
I mean, let me think about that. I'm gonna need to reflect really deeply about my life. Very, very deeply. Yes, but okay. So if you were to name a color, like a color, which color would it be and what would you rename it to? Like a color that's already existing, or maybe you want to create a new color. So you want to combine whatever, like there's maybe, you're like, this shade of blue is always too blue, so I would need to add a little bit of brown, and that color or shade I would call this. So what would that be? We're all the way out there, Raji. You came.
know, when I asked for like, hey, what are you going to ask me today? I would have really appreciated you telling me this before.
No, this is live.
I was I'm really bad with these types of questions.
We're gonna do it. This is.
I don't know. Okay, my favorite color is like yellow, right?
Yellow.
And my favorite combination is like yellow and black.
Well, welcome home.
I know, I'm very happy. It's a perfect. And then some red there.
Right. We saw you. We feel you.
Yeah.
This is just for you.
Yeah, I'm not like. My students might be watching this. They're going to think I'm not creative at all. Why are
No,
you putting me in the spot?
If your students know you, they don't put you in a box because that's what you teach them. So no, your students are not going to be the reason why you're not going to prosper in naming a color right now. A new name.
Can I cheat?
Let's see what cheating looks like. What does it look like?
If I just use one of the other languages I know and say the color in a different language, would you know?
Well, you've already said that that's what you're going to do. So technically, it's like I'm gonna copy the answers off of this test, and then I'm gonna staple it to my answer sheet and give
all
it
right,
to
let's do this. Like, I'm gonna name like the sky blue into just Vanam, which is the word for sky.
Okay.
In Tamil, it's not the color for blue, but
Okay.
like Vanam, like blue, like sky.
Okay,
I would
spell
call
that.
it sky.
I
would like the
Vanam.
Anglo-Saxon version of the
Yes,
Tamil word.
yes.
I guess would be VAANAM.
VAANAM.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now we have a color, so we're gonna start like a color mood board, and everybody you're the pioneer. So we're gonna have all the colors, and at some point we're gonna have those legitimized somewhere in some institution that cares.
I would love for you to use that power.
Yes.
For the other conversations we're about to be having. If you're
Raji
able to
Raji does not want the power to name. It's fine.
If you have the
Raji.
power to delegitimize or legitimize something, let
Yes.
it be used for some of the more deep conversations we're about to have.
a deep girl. I love it.
Yes.
So the last question in this series, where we are
Again,
now,
I'm
with
still
the look on your
scared. I'm not
face.
even scared about like.
I like
let's
it.
talk about the the deep, meaningful, heartbreaking,
I like that.
emotional
No,
things.
heartbreak in like 5 minutes.
Oh,
Don't
in
worry.
5 minutes.
We're
Okay.
getting to it. Don't feel bad.
All right. No, it's okay.
Okay. So, what is your favorite childhood memory and why? Why does it matter? Why was it beautiful? And why do you still hold that as a powerful memory?
I think I have quite a few like memories that are very dear to me.
Okay, we can have a couple if you don't mind sharing.
I think like when I think of like a memory, like some of the ones that first come to mind is the moment I realized I wanted to like learn to be a professional Indian classical dancer. So I do Bharatanatyam.
Wow.
And it started because I was watching, so my current gurus
Okay.
are teachers.
Okay.
Shalini Sheversations and Shruti Sheversations.
Okay.
They were family friends as well. Like I knew them like outside of dance because our families knew each other.
Right.
But I think I was around 2.5 years old and I'd watched them on stage.
2.5 years old.
Yeah.
You have memories as far
I
back as
remember,
that.
I don't remember the dance itself, but let me
Okay.
tell you what I remember.
Okay.
Is I had watched them dancing on stage and
Right.
they're a sister act, right? Like they're a duo.
Yes.
And it had moved me a lot to the point that I remember standing in the car back, like standing and pulling my dad's t-shirt and saying, I want to do what they're doing.
Wow.
Like I was throwing a tantrum and I remember that.
Yes, okay.
And my parents have also like said it. They're like, like I am a very opinionated, stubborn woman.
Yes,
and
which
I've
we
always
love.
been.
Love it.
But a tantrum, that was the only time I've ever thrown a tantrum.
Oh, wow.
So they spoke to them and they're like, hey, like Uma is saying she wants to dance. Like, what do you guys think? And they were like, oh, you can just send her over. Like, yeah, we'll just have her come. And so I started learning dance with them when I was 3.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
And I was very lucky, right? Like to learn to dance with the people that like inspired me to dance. And then I think around the age of 8, I joined their dance teacher.
Okay.
Because they were in Hurlingham and I'd moved to Parklands. It was a little hard.
Okay.
And their dance teacher, Srimati Geeta Umesh, she was in Parklands. So I started joining them.
All right.
And I joined them and I got the opportunity to dance with my dance teachers, right? Like, I mean, with Shalini and Shruti, Akka means big sister. It's a form of respect.
Okay. We're learning a lot here, guys.
Welcome.
Yeah,
a lot of cultural things.
I love it.
So I think it shaped like who I am right now as a dancer. And unfortunately, during COVID, we all lost Geeta Umesh to COVID.
So rest in peace.
Her and her husband both passed away.
Okay.
And so now, Shalini and Shruti Srivatsan are continuing the legacy and they're running the school, Nrityalaya.
Wow.
And so I go to them now and I'm still like able to continue dancing and, still be mentored and guided and taught by them.
Right.
So like that memory... That memory is the reason like 28 years, like 27 years later, I'm still here, like 26 years later, I still dance. And a big part of my identity is that,
Yeah. Wow. Oh my goodness. So I didn't know that you're a dancer. But now we know
also
we know
creative,
why.
see?
So you get me. You get me with the colors and all of that. So yeah, and you said that you had a couple of, just childhood memories that really rocked your world.
I don't know if it's a childhood memory. It's just a memory. Like one of my favorite memories is when I was in the Maldives with my sister-in-law and my brother and my nephew.
Okay.
And I like to say that this is one of my favorite memories of all time because we were coming back and the roads are very narrow in the Maldives, right?
Okay.
So there's no space for cars.
Yeah.
It's just
they don't want cars there.
Exactly.
They just want the humans and the fishes.
Yes,
like let people be happy.
Basically. And so my brother was in the other bike with my nephew and I was on this bike with my sister-in-law and we were going and it starts pouring out of nowhere. And we had just gone to like Mini, so we had these like paper bags and it's like getting wet and we like get there and we're just like drenched. But then like we were giggling. My sister-in-law were like fully giggling and laughing and like the nail polish is falling on the street and we're just laughing and then we get home and we like give it to my brother. We're just like, we hand it off and we're like, do you want to go to the beach? And it's like 3 minutes away. Yeah. And so we went straight into the beach and like there was this deep sea section where my sister-in-law just jumped into the water.
Right.
It's raining. There's a rainbow and it's like the sun is setting and it was just me and my sister-in-law and it was
it sounds
amazing.
like a scene out of a very nice movie.
Yeah. And it was very healing. Like I said, I just left the US. I was doing a lot of like connecting back to myself and the water does that. Like I said, the 2 most important things for me, ocean and dance, and it seems that both of my memories are tied to those too.
Well, thank you so much for letting us into your world. So we're going to come back and talk about the things that you're very excited to talk about, the heartbreaking things, unfortunately, for the heartbreak part. But like, we're going to have a conversation shortly. So we're going to have a music break, ladies and gentlemen. And this is going to be a Beba by Zenia Manasseh and a Beta by Motorio. So I'm going to see you guys after this.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Pawaradio.
It's been a really long time, tangu nikuvutie. I only called today, but I think about you every day. Najua nilichoma, I take the blame. Juu tangu iyo day, I've never been the same. Find me at B&D of late kila weekendi. Nimekosana na wengi, lakini sisi I'm regretting. I know you know me well, usikate juu niko mlevi. Please don't hang up on me, niache niseme ukweli. I've been upset cause no one loves me better. Ata wanipende aje, na wapenda shingo pande. I know you're upset cause no one loves you better. Ata wakupende aje, utahepa someday. I'm not stalking you, niliona umepost pictures are coast. Your new man doing the most. You seem happy, you seem so happy. Called to let you know I'm taken, but available for you. Bestie, we need to share a phone. Cause you don't understand what the hell is going on. Kilimani reminds me I'm alone. Oh, I need to call her now. She needs to know what's in my heart. I've been upset cause no one loves me better. Ata wanipende aje, na wapenda shingo pande. I know you're upset cause no one loves you better. Ata wakupende aje, utahepa someday. I've been upset cause no one loves me better. Ata wanipende aje, na wapenda shingo pande. I know you're upset cause no one loves you better. Ata wakupende aje, utahepa someday.
Reminds me I'm alone. Oh, I need to call her now. She needs to know what's in my heart. Oh, reminds me I'm alone. Oh, I need to call her now. Needs to know what's in my heart.
Wagwan Nairobi, hey, it's your boy Kago Mungai. We got 3 queens on the track, Mayonde, Fena, Gitu, and Mobani, the drummer queen, and they're about to kill it. You ain't ready for this, Nairobi. If you killing it, put your hands up in the air for this one time.
Feeling so fresh, so juicy. Only rock with the best, I'm choosy. I got the sauce, I'm choosy. In the ghetto at the same time, bougie. Ooh, wanna take a photo, cause my style loco. Caught a good vibe, I can feel it in my soul. Driving around Nairobi like a boss. I don't mean to brag, no, I don't mean to floss. Of course, on the highway, listening to Kagwe. Junior Westy, thank God that it's Friday. Man, we so fly, it's our time. On the dance floor, do my latte wine. I'm a kawaida, I kill it, I kill it, I'm a kawaida, I kill it, I kill it, I'm a kawaida, I kill it, I kill it, I'm a kawaida, I kill it, I kill
it, kama kawaida, niko na mistari na niko na mawaidha. If she asks for money, never leave with the broad. And if he say he'll pay you next week, he's a fraud. East African girl, hella mean with the quad. One time, then I leave with the squad. She say she got the sauce, I got the mayo. The way I rock the city, Nairobi be like, ayo. Hey, we can chill in my car. You can listen to my new sheet. Now do you like it or not? Can you with my bullshit? Wanna babaika? I feel it, I do. Oh, the way I kill it, I do. And anything you want, yeah, I bill it, I do.
I'm a kawaida, I kill it, I do. Oh, I kill it, I do. I'm a kawaida, I kill it, I do.
911, we are murder.
I'm a kawaida, I kill it, I do.
Oh yeah,
I kill it, I do. I'm a kawaida, I kill it, I do. I kill it, I do.
That drama queen start, favorite part. Right around Nairobi, sitting pretty on the tracks. I'm thinking my new flag is greater than you can. Imagine venye tumewakilisha with my clan. Let's talk about it. I've been about it, dream about it. Worked so hard I became about it. Worked so hard they became about me. Ask about me, ask about me. What's surrounding? All the squad is who's around me. All the sauce is who's around me. Real, live for the thrill. Lucky Luciano, baby, live for the kid. Deal. In something important, for something important. Kuha so Nick constant like I kill it, I do. I kill it, I do. Kamakawa ida. I kill it, I do. I kill it, I do. Kamakawa ida. I kill it, I do. I kill it, I do. Kamakawa ida. I kill it, I do. I kill it, I kill it, I do.
Your kind of music, all day, all night, right here on your only station, Pawaradio.
Kawaida, we kill it. Aye. Now, if you didn't know, you already know. I'm Caroline Murote, and I am joined in studio by
Raji Uma.
Raji Uma. So yes, Raji is about to tell us what she does in the area of gender. So could you just break that down for us?
I love how you just stopped at like what she does for gender.
Yeah, it's like a good scope.
It's a good scope. It's such a wide scope.
Yeah.
I mean, for one, I'm a woman.
Yay.
Sorry, that. Yeah, I'm a cisgendered woman. But I've been like quite privileged, right? So I guess my work. There, we good? Can you hear me?
Sorry.
Okay, no worries. So some of the work that I do has been a lot around gender-based violence prevention.
Okay.
And conversations around those topics. But then when you're talking about gender, like I think it doesn't escape like just everyday life stuff, right? So
Yeah.
feminist, right? And I think some people are so scared of the word being like feminist,
Yeah.
as if it's not just talking about equity and justice. I don't think it's something that I want to be like having to introduce myself as, because it should be the common. Like it should be
I
the
love
norm.
that.
It should be like everyone's a feminist because we all believe in like that.
I share
empathy
that
and
exact sentiment.
Yeah. So a lot of work that I do around gender has to do with programming. So I do a lot of programming and like having these types of conversations and like awareness. So right now at ADMI, we do a lot of programming around like empowering our students to understand GBV, if they've experienced it, how to speak up, how to advocate for yourself. What does advocacy look like in any of the different spaces?
Right.
Because like I said, they're creatives, but they're also the ones that have the most power on like controlling the narrative. If you're talking about any type of advocacy and any type of fighting the system, one of the biggest tools you will need is controlling the narrative. Right?
Yeah.
And that's how you can either get buy-in or you're having like oppression and all of that. It's around the narrative.
Yes.
And if you have creatives who understand the importance of having conversations around gender-based violence, prevention of it, but like the nuances inside of like gender-based violence, then you are in a better place to like fight the systems.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you for the good work that you're doing, you know, even before we dive into the specifics. I have a question. So, you know, you've given us your dreams, you know, water and dancing, you know, your favorite things. And then there's a more serious side to things. So yes, you are in the academic space, but it's also a very, the what you've just shared is also very political. It's a very, it's a deep societal issue, especially currently in Kenya. When was it for you? Did it become like, okay, now this is what I want to do, or this matters enough to me for me to get into these kinds of things? I mean, you could have just been a cool teacher, cool administrator, cool programs director. But why get into the work of, you know, just addressing inequality in gender systems? Also, you know, you do some work around race. When did that start, and why did it matter to you?
That's an interesting question, right? Because I think there's this idea that when you get into work like this, there's usually this like moment that happened in your life. And that's why, you know, like I got into this because I experienced something and I need to like, you know, save the world because of it.
Yeah.
But I think it doesn't have to be like that.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I think I'm very privileged.
Okay.
I grew up in a household, like I said, where my dad was like quite the feminist himself,
Right.
And my mother is also like a very strong, opinionated woman as well, and a community leader. And so growing up in this household, I was raised to have opinions. I was raised to like speak up for justice. I was raised to like do that, right? And in that environment, it's hard for like, it's hard for me to not be doing it, right? I didn't know it would be a career, you're right. Like a part of me was just like, yeah, this is what everyone needs to be doing. We're constantly like speaking up for what's right.
Yeah.
And you keep like
We can't not
doing,
do it.
you can't not do it, right? Because my parents were founding members of the Tamil Cultural Association of Kenya. They're community leaders. And I grew up with my mom speaking up when something was wrong. I grew up when my dad like knew the way the policies worked to make sure that we could protect our, you know, the diaspora and speak for them. So I grew up in that environment, and I also am quite similar to my mother. Very opinionated, very stubborn, very outspoken. And all of the things that you need for a disruptor. And you need a disruptor in society.
We do.
Right?
We do.
And I also got to get the best of both sides, where my dad is a very like, you know, diplomatic, policy oriented, very like strategic thinker about like how he does those advocacy work. And so putting that together, I was like, wait, I can do this, and I'm able to have impact. So I've realized that any work that I do, even if it's not been around like race or gender justice, there's always been a component of like speaking up for what's right. So then I grew up, I went to Model UN. I was that nerd, you know, you're like speaking up for like policy advocacy and you're doing all of this. And then like I went to the US when I was 16. So 2013. Wow, I just aged myself. I like gave out my age there.
I mean, now we know it's just the number.
Also, but here's the thing.
And it's
as a
valid
feminist,
one.
I'm not afraid to say my age. I am younger right now, so like maybe it's easy for me to say, but I think like aging is a privilege, and I will be like, I don't think I should be afraid to say how old I am. I'm 28. But like, so when I was 16, I went to the US, and I was part of the UNESCO Center for Peace, like IMUN conference, and I got like Best Delegate Award. And then,
that's a big deal. Go you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then when I came back, I think that was when I realized like, oh, like I can actually like, I want to look into like this types of like policy work, advocacy work. And then I went back the next year. I was an intern, and then I was an assistant facilitator. And then I ended up like I went 3 years, and then after that, it was time for me to go to college. They gave me a scholarship to pick out of like 10 different universities in the US and the UK. And they asked me to run the program the next year.
Wow.
And so I think I was the only person who had not been in college who was running the program, like as a program advisor. Everyone else were like college students. So I took a bit of a year break, and I organized this like huge international like UNESCO Center for Peace conference based in Maryland, the US, next to DC. And it was like from, you know, people from like 130 different countries, and it was like a wonderful, you know,
at this point, you're like 18, 19?
I was 18. Yeah. I was like 17, 18. And then I picked out my university. So I went to Florida International University. And the reason I picked that out of the different universities I had scholarships from was because FIU had the best Model UN program in the US, right?
You were very committed.
Yeah.
Like,
so
y'all are not about to ruin my vibe.
Yeah. And like when I went to FIU, FIU's Model UN program competes with the circuit, and they're like always ranked top 2, top 3, going up against Ivy League institutions.
Right, right.
So when I applied for the Model UN program at FIU, there were 50 people who applied. It was a rigorous process. 2 of us were picked.
Okay. You being one of them.
Me, yeah, maybe.
I mean, at this point, I shouldn't ask you, like, anything you say that involved other people or, like, achievements. Of course, you got to the top, which is what we love to hear. We love to hear it.
But the thing is, it's really just, like, again, I do think I was just privileged and lucky, and, like, you know, I had a great, like, opportunity to have been doing Model UN in high school,
but
right?
also
like in middle school.
Don't.
And I'm not diminishing it. Yes, I will not be diminishing,
because there's so many privileged kids who could have had those opportunities and they didn't care, and a whole bunch of others who did care and maybe didn't achieve those things. So it's okay to like accept that. Yes, I was privileged, but even with all that privilege, I did a great job. And
yes, that is true. I'm going to model this for like a lot of our young women. We can acknowledge that. But I also think it's important to acknowledge that I was very privileged, right?
Yes,
like to be able to like have gone gone to the US when I was 16 and compete, right? Like that's a privilege. Like my parents were able to pay for that.
Also to be raised in a healthy environment where
that
allows you to even aspire to things like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like to have a family that like encourages me to like question everything, right? Even like starting all the way back when I was a kid in religion. Like that was my dad and I would have Monday dinners where we would sit down and have conversations about like, me questioning parts of like Hinduism and being like, but why? But why? And I was allowed and encouraged and like, you know, to like figure things out for myself and like build those opinions.
Yes.
So then I went and I joined the UN program, right? And this is kind of where I switched from like going straight into like full blown like policy making to more advocacy work. Was when I started competing in like the circuit. So we would go to, you know, NICSIC and like we would go to DC, we would go to like Canada, all of these places for like competitions. And it's collegiate level. It was so toxic. Yeah. It was extremely toxic.
I can imagine.
Like, and part of that thing was like, I would be doing things that I didn't want to be doing to win, right? And I was like, I can do this. I'm like, especially like, I can do this, but I wasn't happy doing it. And I remember coming back after one of the conferences and calling one of my mentors. His name is Obi, and Chase. They were both like Modern people, and you know, one of them became a lawyer, and the other one, like, you know, advocacy, same line of work. And I called them, and I was like, I don't like who I become when I'm in those places. Like, I'm winning.
Too much mudslinging.
There's just so much like toxic and like manipulation and like I'm not happy, right?
You might have to step on some people.
Yeah, and I wasn't happy about that. And my friends and my mentors were kind of saying like, you know, this is why we need more people like you. And I was like, yeah, but like, how can I be in this space and still be myself, right? And I don't think I want to lose who I am just
to have to leave your soul out the door just to have
which
a seat
you kind
at the
of
table.
have to over there, right? And like, yes, there are people who are able to like use that, and like I know that works for a lot of people where they can use it for like different types of impact. But that's when I started like, you know, switching. Because
if you don't want to at the core of your soul, then it's not worth it.
Exactly. And so that's when I started switching into more like community work, right? And more like community resilience and, you know, policy advocacy, but on a different side of things, as opposed to like the diplomatic and like, you know, inside thing. And then, so then my work with like women and gender really started. Right. So I got to concentrate. My undergrad was in Miami. I got my degree in international relations concentrating in women and gender studies. And when I was there, I went and spent a summer in India. I did an independent study on like how the rape culture is influenced by the education system there, right? Like how does education, how does the education system impact rape culture, and like the best way like to prevent sexual assault and sexual harassment or rape is really decolonizing sex ed. And like that was kind of like the work, and I was doing a bunch of seminars across like different colleges and schools. And then that's when I started really realizing like the power for all of this was like community work, and like bringing, like getting that buy-in and working together as a community.
Just going to the grassroots and then seeing how you can legitimize some of these things so that assistance and the information can come down to them.
And I think there's sometimes there tends to be a disconnect, right? Where especially when you go to the US and you like study in the US, or you have all of these policymakers and like policy, you know, curators who start in the US or the UK, right? And they have these very like Eurocentric
ideas of
everything of like this is how we need to solve this problem in like Kenya. This is how we need to solve this problem in like Africa. But the truth is, it's not going to work.
Because it's not for us.
It's not.
It needs to be custom made.
It's not just not for us. It's not by us.
Ooh, that's very important.
Right?
Ownership and
what we don't want, and we want to be disconnected. But I'm saying it needs to really focus on like empowering the communities to like find the solutions that like work best, because there's a lot of cultural context that you can explain it to someone,
and until they come and live that life,
it won't make sense. It won't make sense. True. Right? Yeah. Which is one of the reasons I went and spent time in India, because like while I am of Indian descent, I had never lived in India. So I was like, I can't be sitting here and say like, oh, they are, you know, they have a horrible rape culture there, like without work and like getting the context. And I was like really well positioned in the sense of, you know, I was Tamil. I was doing these things in like the Tamil language. But then I had like a Western perspective, but I also had an understanding of the culture. And I was able to like kind of bring those things together, right? And kind of tell them how a lot of things that they're working with is an impact of colonization and isn't really like, you know, what was our culture to begin with. but if you know, like someone from America goes and says that, do you think people are going to accept it? The same here in Kenya, right? If you have someone like coming from the US, and we have that happen a lot in Kenya, right?
Every day.
All the time.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I think this is what's going to work for you.
Yeah.
Like, you guys are a sexist community, and you guys do not respect your women. You guys are like doing A, B, and C.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, we know that. Like, there's aspects of it, but that's not like, that's not the core of it.
Yeah, that's not
we're
also
not getting
how
to
to have the conversation.
Exactly.
Because if you want to assist people by attacking their identity, you're not gonna get what you need, even if the intentions are right.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think that's a big scope of what you're some of what you're saying. And now that you've dived into needing to experience culture to be able to impact it. So let's, for example, look at the Kenyan culture. You have an experience of different cultures. So I don't know what hybrid is that a thing? Is that a thing that you'd be okay
identifying as?
Yeah, when it comes to culture, like you have a hybrid experience of cultures. Is that?
I've never known how to describe myself, because it's true, right?
Yeah.
In Kenya, I'm still like Indian, right?
Yes.
In India, I'm still foreign.
Yes.
I still have this American accent from my time in America, where I did
And
my
when you were
undergrad,
there,
my
you were a
master's,
person
and
of
work.
color.
And when I'm over there, I'm an international
Brown.
foreign immigrant, like brown woman of color.
It's a lot.
And so, there's been this thing that like wherever I am, like there is a part of me that like doesn't fully belong, right? But I think I was saying this actually. Sorry.
The mic, stop attacking her. Stop it.
No, it's me attacking your mic. I'm sorry. I'll be
I
kinder and
tried.
gentler. But no, I think I was just saying it earlier outside with your colleague when we were having our conversation.
Yes. I know okay.
Yes. And when we were talking about like the thing about traveling and going to different places, a lot of people grow up with this idea that like you can always get everything you want. There's this like ideal scenario in your future where everything is existing, just like everything you want is with you, right? But then the truth is there's always going to be an opportunity cost. Like when I left to go to the US, I was away from family.
Yeah.
Right?
Community. People that have your lived experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then I went to the US and I built my community of my girls. Right? And I was just saying it to them as well, where I don't think I would like I would be the person I am right now if I didn't have that, right? And before I left, I didn't have this like understanding of the importance of female friendships until I went to the US and I had my group of people come and be my community.
I hear you.
I didn't understand that importance when I was here in Kenya, right? Because I was sheltered by my family and I had like my community that was already like established by my parents and my people.
Yeah, and your ethnicity.
And I was protected, right? And then I went to the US and then I was alone and I had to build this community. And there's this like toxic behavior. And I think this is often the power of the patriarchy that they use like divide and conquer, right? They tell you that, female friendships are so toxic. Like, and then you'll see some pick me girls be like, I don't like, I can only be friends with guys because
we talk about that a lot.
Because like, female, like friends are like girls
they'll
are so
backstab you, they'll gossip. There's like, then that's what the narrative
is. And it's not,
is.
and that's kind of where you're seeing that one of the most powerful tools against the patriarchy is your sisters.
Yeah. It's women because we understand each other. We should anyway.
Yeah, and it's not to say that many women don't have internalized misogyny and tend to like cause just as much harm. But the truth is, this is kind of why you need more women to like lean into each other and say like, we're a community of women and we're going to stand by each other. We're gonna hold each other's back and celebrate each other. And make sure that like we're protecting each other
and not lean into the toxic narrative.
Yeah,
because something about that and like somewhat self-fulfilling prophecies is that sometimes it's not true, but the more you say it, the more you call it that, the more you literally become that. And it's like a cruel joke.
Yeah. No, my family jokes about this and like a lot of people joke about this.
Yeah.
Because of like how much I talk about my friends. They're like, oh, it's always your friends for you, right? And it's like, yeah, my girls
who else
are so crucial to my like existence.
They're not because of money, it's not because of religion, it's not because you share DNA, it's not because you share skin color or like, nationalities. It's literally because after I know everything that I know about this person, I still choose them and they choose me. So why would they not be the center of your world?
I was saying this again outside. You guys should have just brought the mic earlier when I was chatting with your colleague. You guys wasted some really good content.
I mean, and when you care, consequences.
She had a bit of an earlier interview done with me.
Yes.
But we were talking about this, right? And something that I say very often is platonic love is one of the most beautiful forms of love ever, right?
Co-sign.
Because unlike familial love or romantic love,
right,
which are sustained through familial obligation or sexual like attraction, this is simply because two souls chose each other and are choosing to continue to love each other.
Regardless
there's moments,
of everything else.
Nothing else. Like there's moments where if like one of my girls are having like an insecure thing and I'm like, hey, like no, you are so beautiful, you're so smart,
You're the
and
best.
you're so brave, right? And they're like, you're my friend, you have to say that. And I was like, actually, there's nothing more objective. There's actually nothing more objective than my love for you right now.
Yeah, because I'm not tired.
Like I have no reason to be loving you right now, and I'm here choosing to love you.
Yeah, so it must be true.
Right?
I hear that. Yes. And I think where I was heading with that question about your perspective is, now that you have this lived Kenyan experience and you are Kenyan as well, what do you think people are missing when it comes to the inequalities that we're experiencing in our society, in gender spaces and race as well? What do you think is something that's often overlooked, maybe taken for granted? It could be a couple of things, but in your perspective, what does society really not see about this issue that we should?
I think it's often this idea that feminism is a foreign concept.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think that tends to be at the core of like some of the problems you face when you're having these conversations in places like Kenya, in Nairobi, Mombasa, anywhere, or like even in India, where when you have this conversation of like gender equity or justice, or you have this conversation about like fighting genital, like FGM, or you're fighting against like gender-based violence.
Yes.
It's all like such a foreign concept when it's not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but that's how we perceive it,
We perceive it to be like that. And then you have this thing of you have
don't worry.
You have
technical difficulties in the background. Don't ask.
No worries. I will zone back in.
Okay.
You have this thing that exists in these communities where you have pre-colonial traditions also slightly like existing, and then you have like post-colonial traditions existing together, right? And so you'll have sometimes some groups being like, oh no, we're not sexist. Like our women are like the farmers, or like our women are like the ones who like run businesses.
They're the pillar of the society.
They're the pillar of the society, because those are remnants of like the pre-colonial traditions.
Right.
But then it coexists with the post-colonial traditions of like, okay, but like this is how you need to behave. This is where the violence is coming. This is where all of this is coming. And if you cannot like have those like bring the buy-in to communities to like make them realize that both of these things can coexist and we can agree that there's problems, right? Because just because you have one thing that is like okay, and like there's a sliver of like power that women have, it doesn't mean that all of these other things don't exist.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And this idea of intersectionality, while like yes, it was coined by Kimberly Crenshaw like recently, the concept is true and it doesn't have to be foreign, right?
It's actually not just the definition.
It's the definition and the name and the terminology is like new or like Western, but the concepts are all like true and exist for a reason.
And if you look into it, you'll see that it has been there.
Yeah.
The intersections have been there for long before some of those history books and narratives came to us.
And it comes down to power dynamics, like I've said before.
Again,
right? It comes back to that. And like just because in a
power.
certain just because in certain environments like we're seeing like a woman has a bit more power doesn't mean in other environments
the women don't need to be empowered.
Yeah. And if we're talking about gender-based violence, we're not only talking about like, again, there's this notion that we're only talking about like violence against women. And I love that this is, whenever you start talking about violence against women, that's when some people will come up and be like, what about violence against men, right?
Yes.
And you're like, as a feminist, I'm here talking about the same things.
Yes.
Some of the things I'm advocating for is that you get like access to mental health, right? I'm here trying to say that you need to be able to feel your emotions. You need to be able to like learn how to process them emotionally, right? But the thing is, if the only time you want to bring up violence against men is when I'm talking about violence against women.
You're actively acting against the cause that I'm fighting for.
It's not only that, it's it's showing me that you don't care about violence against men. You're just caring about silencing the conversation on women.
Yeah.
And
Censoring.
and censoring and hogging the space.
Right.
Because you can see that there's this space and you're like, oh no, we need to talk about men again.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, no, we should talk about the issues men are facing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we shouldn't,
Yeah.
but we should also be like, let's have this conversation. Why are you scared to have this conversation?
Yeah.
Why is it that you're deflecting by like saying, oh, what about like this like men are also facing this
Yeah.
and men can't talk to anyone.
Yeah.
Hey, do you know that suicide rates for men are high? And you're like, yes.
The not all
yes.
men syndrome.
And you know, I like the whole not all men syndrome is also really dangerous, right?
It is.
Because these same men who would like to say, like, I'm not saying only men say that, not all men, but like the men that who say not all men would be some of the first people to come and tell you, if you're their daughter or sister, do not trust a man.
Yeah. In fact, they actively keep other men out of your lives.
Because they know and they're afraid, right?
Yeah.
I like this analogy, and I think my parents are so tired of this analogy because I use it very often, right? It's basically there's a box of snakes.
Okay.
Okay? There's one, it doesn't even have to be a mix. There's one venomous snake in that box of snakes.
Okay.
Every other snake is not venomous. Like you can, if it was out, you can just like put your hand, play with it, and it's not venomous.
Yeah.
Right?
You're just hanging out with the snakes.
They're just hanging out with all of these other snakes.
Mm-hmm.
There's one venomous snake in this. Would you put your hand in?
Probably not.
Because you don't know which one is venomous and which one isn't.
Yeah, there's no need to risk it. In fact, it is wise to stay away.
Right?
Yeah.
And so then why do we like, you know, like then there's always this anger that comes in, like, why are you blaming all men? It's like, no, but I don't know which one of you.
Yeah.
I don't know which one of you.
And in this case, there's a bunch of venomous snakes. Even the ones that you bought from the pet store and was labeled non-venomous.
And they can be venomous. You don't know, right? And so how do you battle all of this, right? Like we're talking about the problem, and there's like the problem exists. It's existed, and it may continue to exist. But how can you like reduce the impact of it, right?
Yeah.
And some of the things that you need to really think about is it's got to be like a multi-pronged approach. Like I don't think this can happen like me alone, right? It can't happen like just advocacy alone, just policy alone.
Sheversations will not fix the issues ladies are having.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it can give them the tools.
Yeah, something.
It can give them the direction to take to like speak up for themselves, to advocate for themselves, to find the community that can back them.
Yes.
So one of my biggest things that I'm, like I said, again, community, right? Like my girls are important to me, but so is like just you have to build yourself a community. And like when you're fighting a system, you need to the strongest thing to fight a system is to have a community.
Yeah.
And and to have that power, right? So either you're a person in power and authority and are able to make policy change,
yes,
or you're down here and you're building like power through the masses.
I love that. So wow. Now the heartbreaking stuff, the really heartbreaking stuff. So between last year and this year, because well, it's gone overboard between last year and the short 2 months that we've had, the statistics have continuously gone up. Gender-based violence, also femicide in particular, is just one of the ugliest realities that was actually named as a national crisis recently. Why do you think it's so easy for us to have these problems as Kenyans, and especially now? Do you think that there's a specific reason, or is it a bunch of reasons?
That's a great question. This is kind of like, again, I might not have the perfect answers for this, but I think it might be the fact that it's not new. I don't think this is new. I feel like this idea that this is something that is like recent is a false narrative.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
That like, oh, we used to exist and like our marriages lasted forever. And like, you know, like nowadays there's like divorces, right? That's kind of what this sounds like.
Yeah.
Right?
It sounds that way, but we know the truth.
But we know that the truth is it's not something that started just like right now.
Yeah. Maybe the publicity around
and that's kind of what I'm coming to.
situation.
Right now there's like more conversations. There's more access to social media.
Okay.
There's more access to like getting and collating this information. And because you're able to track it now, you're seeing the statistics and it's like scary.
Yeah.
But the truth is it's been there. And the problem was in the past, it would happen in a village and, they would be like, oh, it was an honor killing.
Yeah.
The community agrees and accepts that's, she decided to like love a man and therefore she deserved to die and it doesn't get recorded. Right. Or you have something and then it's like, oh, this is a dishonor to our community. We must hide that statistic.
Right.
And we shouldn't let people know.
Right.
Right. And this is the same with like rape. This is the same with all of these things. And then like you had a culture where when someone was raped, you just get them married to the person.
Right.
Right. Because you're like, oh, you need to be with one person forever. The difference now is there's a bit more awareness.
Yeah.
There are people getting that information, tracking that information and talking about it.
Yes.
Which is why I go back to my first point where controlling the narrative is important.
Very, very much so.
And like, I think sometimes it's often dismissed as like have awareness campaigns.
Yeah.
This is like what everyone does all the time.
Yeah, it's trending now.
It's trending.
It's
like
popular.
That's what it is.
Buzzwords.
And the thing is, yes, there's sometimes like a problem with that, like short term, like buzzwords, and then like you trend it and it's done. But then it's now like learning to use those moments to like create the largest impact of like creating awareness. Yeah. Right. Now people know, like if you have a conversation with people who are not just in the space, they know that GBV was a problem now.
They know.
Because of what happened, especially towards November, right? Like especially the march, like especially the conversations. Maybe they don't fully agree with like how it's being done, what is being done, how to fight it or whatnot, but they know it's something that's being talked about.
Yeah, and that it's
come to the conversation.
It's not an individual, my nation, my family, my uncle. It's like, this is now a Kenyan problem, unfortunately.
Exactly.
So it concerns me.
Exactly. And so controlling the narrative, and like now that we're able to track the cases, that's what it is. So I don't think it's like I also don't think it's an isolated problem to Kenya.
No,
it's not.
No,
it's a global
sure.
problem.
Actually,
so like, I don't think it's a as Kenyans we're doing this wrong. It's the fact that like as Kenyans we need to come together and solve this, or like find the solutions to prepare our men and women to not commit, and how to protect. Like they need to exist at the same time.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And because of that, like, it's something that we need to come together and do right now. And more than like, it's not something that we're alone in trying to figure out how to do.
Awesome. Well, not what's going on, but just what you said about it is really, it makes sense, honestly. And now to just bring this conversation to just the wrap, because you talked about coming together and seeing how we can participate in fixing the problem. How would you go about it? And how would you rather, and I know it's not a you thing, but what in your perspective would be a good way to start? Because I'm not, disillusioned enough to think that if 5 great minds everywhere in every neighborhood came together, we would fix it. But what's a good starting step for now? If we were to say now, okay, now let's start again. There's been all these things being done, but maybe something is not working. Maybe those other things were not working, or maybe these other things that were started still need to take their course in order for them to have impact. But what would you say is needed for us to get to, just to reduce these cases of GBV, of femicide, and just be happier humans with all of us alive, Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a question that can look different for everyone. Right?
Yeah.
Because everyone has different sets of skills.
True.
And how you choose to use that for the cause can be different. Right? But I think personally, for me, I tend to focus a lot on like building that community and like working on community resilience, right? Trying to bring together like these types of spaces, bring them together, and then work together to like continue to like empower the young generation.
So community collaboration
And like targeting and like empowering the youth, because my background is like with youth, right? I've worked with young adult education. I've been in the academic setting. I have a lot of access with young adults.
Okay.
And when I have that type of access, for me, it is a huge responsibility to make sure that they are prepared to have these conversations out there, right? It is a huge responsibility for me to like know that, one, they are safe, but they're also know how to step in if they're seeing something is wrong, right? And then when they go out there, they become the culture.
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
We had this conversation in the panel discussion last time,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Where
the scars behind the mask.
when you'd kindly invited me to be a part of that panel, we had this conversation where at ADMI, we do a lot of programming like this, right? We have this like running series called the Pandora's Box.
The Pandora's Box, okay.
And we work with our partners, Perpetrators Anonymous. They're an organization that works on GBV prevention as well.
Okay.
And like grassroots organization, a very, like feminist organization as well.
Okay.
So we work with them to do some programming with our students. That's the first session was one of our best. And I think a lot of other spaces need to have these types of events, especially when you're trying to get people to start thinking about it. So the first event, which is my favorite, was Pandora's Box speed dating.
Okay.
And the idea was basically we invited our students to come. We had a really good turnout, and we had our students sit like, you're about to have like speed dating,
Right.
like you sit facing each other and then you like will be moving.
Yes.
And then we'd printed out a comic strip
Okay.
with a very gray scenario.
Okay.
It's not just straight violence. And I think this is important because a lot of us, when we assume about like gender-based violence, it is a violent thing.
We
But we're
think
not talking
also
coercion.
physical. Yeah.
We're not talking about financial abuse.
Yeah.
We're not talking about emotional abuse.
Yeah.
We're not talking about, drug abuse. We're not talking about like all of these different powers that are used with like domestic violence.
Right.
Which is not always like a violent nature, right? There's psychological abuse. So we put this like very gray scenario.
Okay.
And in that scenario, we then had it broken down into 4 different like prompted questions, topics. So in that we had like finance abuse, and then like substance abuse, and then power dynamics, and then mental health. And
Wow,
in those we had some like prompt questions.
Deep dates.
Yeah.
They were like not what I usually talk about on my
On a
first day, but
well,
let's get
absolutely
into it.
I would absolutely talk about that on a first
Same.
date. I'm sorry. If
Yes.
you're not, I need to vet you very quickly. Are you
Do you
able
want to have 4
conversation on
children with me?
feminism? No. Well, okay. This is obviously not going any
Do you
further.
hit women?
Out. I'm out.
How many women have you hit?
No. Here's like.
No, I get it. I
but
get it.
I'm going to say this to the people on the camera, to the people out there. This is great, like first date conversation. You should be having this on your first date.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you should be dating someone who cannot have these difficult
Is
conversations.
unwilling to get into the depth of who they are.
Yeah.
And how much of that they're willing to share.
I'm sorry.
With you.
I don't want to be talking about like some superficial things like what's my favorite like color.
That's valid. No. Yeah.
I will answer questions about naming a new color though. I will be okay with that on a first date.
I love that. Very good, guys. Ask her to name a new color.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine. But then like, these are important things to have, right? But then if you're not able to have these things, then you don't know how to have safe dating. This is at the core of safe dating.
Yeah.
Right? It's at the core of safe dating. So when we're at the session, what we did was they went through the questions and we had them prompt that and have a conversation.
Yeah.
And answer the questions.
Yeah.
And then we made them switch.
Yeah.
Right? And then they would have touched each of these different topics. Right? And so after all of that, we came together and we really like discussed and like wanted to see what they thought. And I thought that was really powerful because it made sure that we were not speaking at them.
It was coming out of them,
We're having them think about it.
Yeah.
It's critical thinking. Like what is going on? What is happening? And when I see that question, what is it making me think about?
Yeah.
What is going on?
Yeah.
And like understanding the nuances, it's so important for it to come from them.
Yeah.
I can be sitting here preaching to everyone like every week with you, and no one will not like
True.
Learn
because
anything.
they can't relate. It's not a part of their process. It's just like, oh, that's what she thinks. Whatever has
it
nothing to do
comes
with
at
me.
you and it'll bounce off you.
It will.
Right?
Yeah.
It needs to come from inside. Like you're actually critically thinking about what's happening.
Like, do I care about this? Why don't I care? Why do I think this way? Or should I change this? Or should I continue thinking this way?
Exactly. And like, wait, that seems nuanced. Maybe I did that to someone. Maybe was that the right thing to do?
Was that abusive?
Maybe I didn't realize I was being abusive.
Am I a bad person?
What
or
is-
do I just need to change this behavior?
And like, we think of violence as some violent act when it's as simple as coercion,
It is.
right? It's as simple as like,
It's a system. It's not necessarily an action. It's a mindset.
it's like, how have you been like conditioned to slowly accept that this is okay?
Yeah.
And like allow it to happen.
Yes.
Right. But
Yes.
then I don't also like that wording because it means that the autonomy is still with us and we're allowing it to happen. Whereas it's actually someone is doing it to you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's finding that balance because a lot of survivors have the autonomy to like, they do have autonomy. I don't want to take away the autonomy that like survivors have.
Yeah.
And they can get it out. But I also don't want to make them feel like it's their fault because it's not. It's these like things around that are like making them feel like this is the only way that they have.
Yeah.
Right. And both of these things are happening at the same time.
Yeah.
And for you to address this, it is to have conversations with all of these environments and have them think about it, all of these things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we can't be so like, simple about how to talk about it, where it's like we're acting as if people who are survivors couldn't also be perpetrators.
Yeah.
Right.
And
like
people hurt people.
Yeah.
Actually, unfortunately, most men that grow up to become abusers sexually and in other ways experience that as children.
And that's something that has happened, right? And happens sometimes. But it's also like it's important to not give them that like, oh, it's an excuse, right?
No.
But it's like it's understanding that there's
an explanation.
There's so much gray area to like all of these situations that it's not easy to like sit here and like have a conversation about it and then like we've understood.
Solution. We can't be one track about it.
It's really just like continuous dialogues where we're forcing people to think about it,
right?
And really advocating with the youth and policy, right? But the only way, like, if you don't have power. Like where you're in a position of authority, like you can write an executive like order and like have it signed and the country follows it. Your biggest asset will be community.
It will.
So like build those like relationships, get awareness, create awareness, have these discussions, have these conversations. And then once you have these conversations, create spaces for people to come and like share their concerns, share their like issues, so you can like build that network of like standing up for each other.
Yeah, it's a pattern and a new culture.
You're like building that community where you can like lean on each other.
Yeah.
It's not to say that it'll never happen, but it should be a space where you can prevent it.
Yeah.
And you can protect.
Yeah.
And you can, speak up and you can hold people accountable. And all of these things are crucial steps. And when I'm talking about prevention, it's not telling women not to wear something like...
Yeah. Crop tops or short skirts or whatever.
No, that's not what we're saying. When we're talking about prevention, it's having conversations with everyone about what does consent look like?
Yeah.
What does power dynamics look like? What does different types of abuse look like? How do you catch yourself when you're doing something that you shouldn't?
Yeah. And how do you also make amends if you're willing, if you have been...
If you feel like... I love these like, these like parody posts, but are very accurate, where it's like, if you don't trust yourself at night, because you think you're going to hurt someone, get yourself a buddy.
Yeah.
Have them hold you accountable.
Yeah.
Oh, like stay inside. Don't go out at night. Don't go drinking if you think like you're going to hurt someone.
Just sleep.
Don't
It's
drink.
healthy.
Yeah, don't drink. Because like these are the things that you tell like women to be safe. But like, why aren't we saying this to like the people who are like doing this, right? Where it's like, we should keep them off the streets.
No, that's really, really... really important. And I just wanted you to just address the peoples, our listeners, just anybody who would like to be in this conversation. What do you as Raji just want Kenyans to know? And the humans just, okay, this is what I'm saying. So that's your 15 seconds.
My 15 seconds. Oh no.
Yes, it could last a good 3 minutes. But yeah,
I'm a yapper. You brought in a yapper and you want me to do it in 15 seconds.
You can do this.
I don't know. I think people think this is like one, a woman problem, or two, like a non-gender, like conforming person's problem.
Yes.
This idea that it's not an issue. It's something that impacts every single person.
Yeah.
In some way or the other.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's every single person I've met, every single woman I've met, or non-binary person I've met, has in some way experienced some type, some level of like violence.
They have. That's true. It's heartbreaking. But
not all men, but all women.
Yeah.
Have experienced it.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's not a problem that you're not like, that doesn't impact you. It definitely impacts you.
Yeah, because you live in this society with all the peoples that have issues with these things. So you need to care if you're trying to have a good life.
Yeah, because it's
if nothing else motivates you, the people around you are going through it makes it easier if you care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, and for you, like, it is impacting people around you. It is impacting you. And maybe you just haven't realized it yet, right? Like, you don't know that maybe one of the reasons you're not getting dates is because of the way that you're addressing women.
Yeah, weird comments.
Weird comments. You're not realizing that this is a conversation for you.
Yeah.
And it's not that, like, the problem is, feminism.
Yeah.
And, like, women are, like, now saying this and that. But the problem is, like, hey, are you putting in the work to, like, understand and, like, have these conversations and sympathize and, like, empathize and put someone else, give them as much space as you are taking up space, right? So I would say that this problem is not about you. Take the time to, like, reflect.
Yes.
Take the time to have conversations. Take the time to connect with spaces like this. Take the time to connect with people of the opposite gender.
Yes.
Build friendships. And I hate to be having to say this, but humanize the opposite gender.
Yeah.
Like, humanize them. They're human.
It's not objectify people.
And, like, you can build beautiful friendships with, like, opposite gendered people, and it doesn't have to be just, like, a sexual relationship.
Yeah.
And I think that is, like, a great first step in, like, you know, being able to reduce the types of issues we're having.
Yes, and ladies and
That was
gentlemen,
definitely not 15 seconds.
no, that works great for me. That is how you raise decent human beings, is humanizing people. That's gonna be my takeaway. And this is a conversation that will continue. Obviously, that's what I care about. That's what we care about here on Sheversations and at Pawaradio. Just having conversations that really impact young people, and hopefully create awareness, you know, just giving a platform for those that have, you know, information and knowledge like yourself to really just disseminate that, to just share. And maybe somebody who didn't know something, you know, at the end of this conversation would be like, oh, you know, now I can do this, I can do that. So thank you so much for lending us your time. And just, to push you out the door, I'm going to ask, we're here, we're back. You already know how this goes. One human being that's not a relative or somebody that you knew in real life, if you were to bring them back from the dead, back to life, who would that be? Who would that be and why?
Repeat the first section of that question, like someone who's not.
Yes, somebody who you didn't know yourself personally.
Oh, it's like
and who's not family. Yeah, so just a figure, a public figure, or just whoever they are. Who would you? Okay.
I feel like that's a little basic, but the truth is, like, for me, growing up in Kenya, I don't think you could have grown up in Kenya without and like Wangari Maathai being like at the core of your like
what the people to look up to. Yeah.
Right. Because I think she did what we're talking about. Right.
Yeah.
She didn't fight against like gender-based violence directly. Right. But her focus was on like climate change.
Yeah.
And the impact she has left simply by mobilizing the women in the communities. Mm-hmm. It was community-led mobilization.
Yes.
And like that is something that is like, it would be amazing. And like if I was ever able to like sit down and have like a conversation with her,
you'd be taking like mad notes. Like,
yeah, I remember there was a story I remember I used to go to MSMUN here in Nairobi, right? Like,
okay.
And they had a video of like one of her interviews playing, and there was a story she was saying that really still stayed with me. It's the hummingbird story. I don't think do you guys know?
I mean, I think I once watched that.
Yeah.
But you might need to jog my memory.
Okay, so it's basically there's this huge forest fire, and all the animals are just kind of giving up, right? Because they're like, we need to leave. The fire's just taken over.
Yeah.
And there's this little hummingbird that just keeps running to the lake and coming and dropping little drops of water and going back and forth.
Yeah.
And then like the animals kind of stop it and like, what are you doing? You're not going to be able to do anything.
Yeah.
Like this is completely useless.
Yeah.
And, there's like, even when I'm like, oh, I might not be having such a huge impact. But then for me, if I'm like, I'm having this conversation with you, or then for me, if I'm like, I'm having this conversation with you, or I'm having this conversation with like some of my students, and I have like, I love where I work right now because at ADMI, they're about this, right? They want us, like as an institution, we're wanting to have these conversations with students and make sure that our students are going out there and being like global citizens, who can like not just be good as creatives, but also be global leaders as thinkers and like, all of that.
Yeah.
And being able to have that impact even if it's not like, oh, I'm changing the world, I'm changing this space.
And it matters.
And that matters.
Yeah.
Because then it like flows over.
Yeah.
So yes, Wangari Maathai would be.
I love that.
it.
I love that. So let's all be little hummingbirds in our own spaces.
And if
That
you're an
is-
elephant, be that elephant, bring that water. Put
please,
that fire down.
Yes, yes. To him whom much is given, much is expected. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. So thank you so much for gracing our conversation today. I have learned so much, and I hope that you guys are listening and watching have also, something to take away that will probably prompt you to do more, to do more and just change and influence your little corner of the world, because you think it's nothing. And if we're all doing it, we'll get there faster. Yeah, so thank you so much. I really enjoyed this conversation, and hopefully you can come back on here and we'll have conversations about other things. Yeah, yes, say yes.
Yeah, no, thank you. No,
She say yes. She
I was just like, wow, y'all want me again? You're not tired of me yet?
Of course.
Perfect.
No, I don't.
I will yap your ears off anytime.
Love that.
Give me a call.
Yes. So thank you so much, Raji.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for having me. Thanks, Flozzy, for inviting me. Thank you
Yes.
so much for being a great host.
I try.
Thanks for your colleague for warming me up.
Yes.
Having that little pre-interview out there. But yeah, and thanks to whoever tuned in. Thanks, y'all. I was a very millennial moment right there.
That was it's inside. Nobody's gonna shame us for being born in the 90s, guys. It works.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Yes,
Cheers.
we are gonna see you. Well, I am gonna see you on Wednesday and Friday, same time, so 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And I'm gonna leave you in the good hands of, who am I leaving them with? Brandy Minor, Dark Skin, and this is Sheversations. Find us on the socials at Pawaradio and Caroline_Murote across all the different platforms. Right before, please jump in with your socials.
Oh, it's very private. I don't.
Yeah.
But So
Okay.
It's okay. It's Uma Lengovan on Instagram. But you can check out our ADMI pages where you can
Okay.
also get access to
Yes,
these.
plug them.
Yeah, it's at ADMI Africa, and then our ADMI at ADMI Students on all platforms, and you'll be able to find us there.
Okay, please look for us and have awesome conversations about being a creative that cares about impact. And then Sheversations, just here to amplify female voices already. So I'm going to love and leave you, and I'm going to see you in a couple of days. Bye-bye.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Pawaradio.
You say you like Ologomba. Baby, turn around and pull up to me bumper. Your skin smooth like Jojoba. Ati wanafanya nini? Wanaogopa. Dark skin and not Georgia. Melanin na lova. Nobody can boga. Well, they tried sometime back in November. They really didn't think I would remember. Sahi, my confidence in my rise. I never used to be like this before. I used to be so damn insecure. I took a dark skin lana. Hey, does all work loud. Nothing ever sweet like coco. Get on the dance floor, make them loco. You say you like Ologomba. Baby, turn around and pull up to me bumper. Your skin smooth like Jojoba. Ati wanafanya nini? Wanaogopa. Dark skin and not Georgia. Melanin na lova. Nobody can boga. You say you like Ologomba. Baby, turn around and pull up to me bumper. Your skin smooth like Jojoba. Ati wanafanya nini? Wanaogopa. Dark skin and not Georgia. Melanin na lova. Nobody can boga. You don't know how I like your confidence. The way you walk, how you talk, it's evident. Black is the beauty, so more for them, so more for them. You are a star, brown skin, una kill. Oh, show them who you are. You are a star, brown skin, una kill. Oh, show them who you are.
Toto, like that Toto, Toto, Toto star. You like a loco, like a loco, 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 mba. You like that Toto, like that Toto, Toto, Toto star. You like a loco, like a loco, 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 mba. You like that Toto. Like that Toto, Toto, Toto star. You like a logo, like a loco, 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 mba. You like that Toto, like that Toto, Toto star.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Pawaradio.